Very good evening to all. Am I audible?
Yeah, audible, loud and clear.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. A warm welcome and very good evening to all dear participants. Resource person of today's session, Dr. Ratan Kumar Srivastava, sir, and chairperson of today's session, Dr. Srikant Babu, sir. Again, a very good evening to all our respected guest speaker and our respected chairperson, sir. Today, we are having our lecture on fundamental of study design. Now, I would like to introduce today's guest speaker of the session, Dr. Ratan Kumar Srivastava, sir. Sir is a former professor and head department of community medicine, Institute of Medical Science, Banaras Hindu University, Varanasi, UP. Sir is currently working as a dean academics at Prasad Institute of Medical Sciences, Lucknow. Sir is having 42 years of teaching experience in community medicine, 25 years in Medical College of Gujarat State, and more than 30 years in Institute of Medical Science, BFU, and Professor Community Medicine at Prasad Institute of Medical Science, Lucknow since 5th July 2020. Sir is specialized in various areas like epidemiology and health services research, health program evaluation, malariology, research methodology, data handling, family welfare, and IEC, epidemic control and control of disease after flood, maternal anemia control, nutrition. Sir was invited as international guest speaker by Smith College, Northampton, Massachusetts, USA to deliver a talk on 29 September in their institution. The topic was social change and public health in India. Sir has participated in national level evaluation of UIP in the year 1988, carried out many evaluation of UIP in different districts of Gujarat, and also multi-indicator cluster survey as principal investigator in few districts of Gujarat state, and carried out more than 12 investigations of epidemics of waterborne disease and have successfully controlled them. Sir has been guided 12 candidates for their thesis work in MD as guide and co-guide, guiding 8 PhD candidates in community medicine. One was awarded in the year 2014. Dr. Ratan Kumar Srivastava sir carried out field day-based research project in Karamshad district in 73,000 population to implement family planning program through milk cooperative system funded by UNFPA and AITAD. Sir has managed data and the control program of leptospirosis for 11 years in Surat, and the effort led to development of national control program of leptospirosis in the year 2008. Keeping record of this work, the regional ICMR Center of leptospirosis at Port Blair kept him member in their scientific advisory committee of RMRC Port Blair from 2013 to 14. Sir has participated in multi-centric three-country heart study HPI funded by Government of Japan through Annamalai University, Chidambaram, Tamil Nadu. Sir has published 52 papers in international and national journals and have prepared more than 33 reports for research activities. Sir is member of various professional bodies like Indian Society of Hypertension, Indian Association of Preventive and Social Medicine, Indian Association of Epidemiology, Indian Leptospirosis Society, Indian Association of Social Science and Health, etc. Sir awarded for successful performing duty as National Observer in the year 2011 and V. Shantaram Gold Medal for the Best Published Paper Award by Indian Society of Hypertension in the year 2011. Sir have provided 3 independent consultancy services for evaluation of health program since 2011, and Sir is the first in the Institute of Medical Science who started this in the institute. Now, I would like to invite sir to kindly lead today's session. Please, sir, welcome, sir.
Okay. Now I'm audible, perhaps. Okay. So, whatever study design we go for the purpose of research. So this is just one sentence. I'm fond of expressing this in many research meetings. Like it is a process of answering a question. Means in any research, we answer a question. that can be answered by appropriately collected data. So this is, I found a very interesting definition of research, though there are many. Okay, it worked. Okay, so that click button is working, arrow is not working.
Okay, sir. Fine, sir.
So no problem. Okay. Good. So, roughly, if we want to see the study design, we can say that is a specific plan or protocol for conducting the study. So, when you make a plan or you prepare a protocol for conducting study, which allows investigator to translate conceptual hypothesis into an operational one. Now, I would like to explain what is conceptual. Conceptual is your thought process in the beginning. If you are doing some qualitative study and you are collecting some data and some question comes to your mind, that is, we call it as a concept which you cannot translate, but we try to make it operational. Then we call that a study design. Through study design, we try to make conceptual hypothesis into an operational one. And we prepare a blueprint for collection and measurement and analysis of data. So there are three things. You collect information, you measure few things which are measurable, or if they are qualitative informations, then you count, and then you analyze. It provides the backbone structure of the study. It supports the study and hold it together. So because we are discussing in a vague term, what do we mean by study design? It refers to researcher and overall plan for answering the research question or testing the research hypothesis. So I have used different sentences just to highlight that we are moving towards study design. Now, I'm going to repeat this with different another terms like uh, study design. Why we need study design? It is a process of planning and empirical investigation. So, means empirical means scientifically which you can perform. So, you plan a process for empirical investigation to assess a conceptual hypothesis. Just imagine, conceptual hypothesis you cannot investigate. So you convert this into an empirical investigation. And then you establish a relationship between one or more exposure and one health outcome. Here I will say like exposure outcome and health outcome. Exposure outcome, I will say that if somebody is smoking cigarette, so a person is exposed to cigarette smoking. During COVID infection, if people are going outside or they are going to hospital where COVID patients are they are admitted, then I will say that they are getting exposure to COVID virus. And after visiting, if they come back, so they may not develop COVID disease. And development of COVID disease, we call it health outcome. Non-development of COVID disease is also an outcome. So that is why I have not written here diseased outcome. So I have mentioned here a very broad terminology, means we have to establish or we may establish there are different study designs where you establish relationship. There are other study designs where you are very weak and you cannot establish exposure and health outcome relationship. You only just try to find out. Like we say cross-sectional study, you cannot establish. We will discuss in much detail with methods of calculation and few observational studies. Now, the purpose of study design is to transform, again, I'm repeating, transform the conceptual hypothesis into an operational hypothesis that can be empirically tested. So this is my final statement. Like, so any study design, when you we prepare, so actually you transform conceptual hypothesis into an operational which you can do, which you can perform, which you can count, which you can measure. So it becomes operational hypothesis from conceptual, and that can be empirically tested. Empirically tested means scientifically that you can test. The conceptual, until unless we test scientifically, we call it conceptual. If you can test it, if you have converted into some method, some device, then you call it empirically tested. So this is the soul of any study design. So one interesting thing that all study designs are potentially flawed. This is very important. Many times we become so confident that we have made a study design, but at the end of study, you conduct a study in 3, 4 years, and at the end you see that there are certain weakness, or you could not get certain information, or there are some suspense. You cannot explain the reason. Sometimes this happens, and then we plan and again one study so that we can try to find out. So all study designs are potentially flawed. So it is important to understand their weakness and strength. So this sentence is very important. And I think slowly you will realize, the new researchers may not realize, may not appreciate this last sentence, but you will appreciate after conduction of 4 or 5 studies that yes. And then we try to enumerate their weakness and strength. And the same thing we discuss in our in further research, because we become aware of many weaknesses and we take care of. And strength we try to make, and we try to believe on those strengths. Weakness and strength I'm going to discuss for each studies and observational studies. So you will understand in a better way. Now, at the bottom you can see study design depends on objective of the proposed study. So when you decide a title of the study, I think there was one lecture, and then you prepare objectives. After framing of objectives, you plan your study design. This is very, very important. So hence study design, we can say either it is a framework for research, plan of action. You can also say it is a master plan, because I have read many foreign documents or many books. So different books, different articles have used different terminology. So I'm just trying to inform you that somebody may call it a framework for study design. Somebody may call it, I'm going to prepare a master plan that specifies the methods and procedure for collecting and analyzing the needed information. Some may say that I'm going to plan a strategy, how data will be collected. So this is in brief. Now, I will also try to explain some basic terms, which is very important to understand and which plays important role in your study design. Like population is a complete set of elements. It may be living or non-living that possesses some common characteristics defined by the criteria established by the researcher. Now, if you are going to see you want to see the efficiency of car, the manufacturer, so you can take sample of few cars, and then the total population may become all number of cars. Factories, they are non-living things. When you study distribution of disease or the this process through which an infectious agent is passing through the body, leading to various signs and symptoms, if you want to study those, we call it that we are going to study living population. So population is a complete set of elements, maybe living or non-living. And population is composed of two groups. One is target group population, second is study population. Target, when you target like entire group of people or objects to which researcher wishes to generalize, we call it target population. And accessible or study population, it is the portion of population to which researcher has reasonable access and can apply their conclusion. So your research methodology or your study design relates to your accessible population or study population. You limit to and you try to find out the answer, and you can do empirical investigation. And data can be collected either, we all know, complete enumeration will take lot of time, will be quite boring, and maybe your whole life is exhausted in the collection. Even then the study may remain incomplete, so we go for sample. So we prepare a study design in such a way that information collected from sample may be applied to the whole population. That is our objective. So we remain very careful, and our experiences uh, enlighten us and make more knowledgeable, and then we improve upon every time when we conduct research. However, collecting data from the entire population is not always possible. I have already told you. So we go for sample. So in study design, you will always calculate a sample size, and then you will plan your study design. Now, I'm going to tell you about very broad classifications of types of study. Now, there are experimental study designs, means our investigator determines the exposure. So experimental, you do experiment. Either you go in lab, or you go to hospital, or you go to community. And here in experimental study, the randomization plays very important role. Randomization is very, very important. And that is a special feature of experimental study designs. Like some examples are clinical trial, when you try like use of mosquito net, we call it, whether can it prevent malaria or not, what proportion of people, what is the percentage protection, means we calculate different rates. Like immunization, we have calculated. You knew that Indian vaccine gave 70% protection, 60% protection, 90%. Like this, we were getting data during COVID time. So there could be clinical trial in your lab and community intervention trial. I gave you example of mosquito net or immunization and so on, or any new drug. And clinical trial we usually do in hospital, we can do in community also. In hospital, I think we can control many variables. Then my tomorrow's topic is observational. So in observational, we do not do randomization. So it means when tomorrow I will read, you will see that I'm not putting emphasis on randomization. So which factor determines exposure? Here we say genes. Whatever genes you have, that determines the exposure. And then we observe it, means natural some phenomena is occurring and we want to see, and we want to see the exposure. Like suppose if you want to see the effect of smoking, whether it leads to cancer or not. So what we will do, we select people, those who are already smoking, and other group of people, those who are not smoking. And we may follow them for 20 years. After the age of 40 or 50 years, we may follow them. There may be a history of every person is having history of 30 years. So then later 20 years we can follow. There are different methods, and I think you will see tomorrow I am going to limit myself that about observational study. So you see, it does not use randomization. And third is descriptive, like cross-sectional study. You describe. time, place, person. So to complete natural history of disease, we go for descriptive. Usually we start, if we do not know about the disease, then we start with descriptive. Then after making some conceptual hypothesis or some hypothesis, then we go for observational or experimental study, just to confirm whatever hypothesis we have made, whether it exists, it is true or not. So descriptive, you complete natural history, you allocate healthcare resources. Like suppose at the time of COVID, you are aware of that in April 21, there was scarcity for oxygen. And there was people were, so government started collecting information, and it was a descriptive, detailed information about whole Uttar Pradesh or any state or Maharashtra or Gujarat. They wanted to, and then they wanted to make a list where these oxygen uh, producing facility is available or not. If not, or oxygen cylinders are available or not, so they can allocate. They collected information from various sources and then properly they distributed. You can, and this suggests the hypothesis of disease causation, and then you prove. Yes. So experimental uses randomization, observational does not use randomization, and descriptive, this is to complete natural history of disease, etc. And analytical, here you test hypothesis, you assess causation. Now few terms we use in the means I'm just discussing the some terms in study designs, like randomization. I was using randomization. Here I have tried to give you some explanation that what do we mean by it. So it offers insurance. This is very important. It never offers guarantee. Try to understand the difference. The randomization, it is like providing your insurance. No guarantee. That what insurance is, that unmeasured variables are evenly distributed among the different exposure groups. So we do randomization so that unmeasured variables are evenly distributed among different exposure groups. This is what we try while doing randomization. But it never guarantee you, please note it. Many times we become so confident that we have done randomization, so every all variables, unmeasured variables are equally or evenly distributed. No, we try, so it is not guaranteed, but we try to do this. Causation, yes. I hope you all remember the Bradford Hill was a great author from UK, and he has written book for biostatistics, and I suggest that he has used for very nicely he has described, and this is very important for undergraduate students and even PG students. If they read the book written by Bradford Hill, that is very clear and there is no confusion. And after reading this book, you can go to any other books or any detailed book. This will give you very basic concepts. So he has suggested the association by how we establish causation. So number one, he has like strength, like suppose cigarette smoking causes lung cancer. Now you try to collect data from one group who are smoker, you try to collect data from non-smoker, then by applying chi-square test, you only develop association. Association means it is related, it does not gives you that in proof that it is causing. For causing, you have to calculate either risk ratio or risk difference. Your risk difference, we also call it attributable risk, which is given in your park. But all good book of epidemiology, like by Leon Gordes or some other author, um, uh, one Dr. Kleinbaum, he's a great biostatistic person. He has written very good book on epidemiology. They have very clearly defined what is risk ratio and what is risk difference. So by calculating risk ratio, you calculate strength of causation, isn't it? By chi-square, many times, if you get high value of chi-square and if 0.001, you get p-value, then you say, yes, it is highly significant. For any value, it will statistically, it will give you only significance. It is significant. It is not very high level significant or low level. You can only calculate risk ratio or risk difference, then you can comment. So high risk ratio will give you strength of your study. Yes, there is strength giving you 3 times causation, 3 times, 5 times people are suffering though with lung cancer who are smoking. Now dose response effect, yes, this also, if you prove that by smoking one cigarette once in a week may not cause lungs, or may cause lung cancer after 6, 70, 80 years, may not cause. But if somebody smokes 100 cigarette daily or 200 cigarette daily, then that person develops lung cancer. You can say yes, there was dose response effect, means with increasing dose you may get it. Once you get, only then you can um, say that that talks about dose response effect. Now lack of temporal ambiguity, like cigarette smoking causes lung cancer. uh, if lung cancer occurs, then you cannot say that that person will smoke cigarette. Means there should be one direction in phase of time, like some passage of time, some number of cigarette smoking, and then after some passage of time, like first there will be smoking, then it will end into lung cancer. Okay, so that we call it temporal. So lack of temporal ambiguity means uh, when you prove that there is a temporal reasoning, then you say yes, causation. Then consistency of finding. Suppose Mr. A reports that cigarette smoking causes lung cancer. After 5 years, Mr. B also conducts the study and he say, yeah, we have also found. So if you repeat any study, that only gives you consistency of finding, that also uh, helps in favor of or creates some evidence that yes, it causes disease or lung cancer. Then biological plausibility of hypothesis, this is very important, and you can understand, means biologically that phenomena can happen. Like if somebody says that if you watch ceiling fan, then you will develop lung cancer, that will be slightly funny. Biologically we may not accept it, but cigarette smoking, yes, biological plausibility of the hypothesis. So biological plausible, that is very important. Biologically it may happen, there should be some reason, and this biological plausibility, it changes with passage of time. Like 200 years ago, 500, 300 years ago, if somebody says we can fly, so nobody will believe. But now we have plane and other things, so you can fly. So we can say yes, this type of theory, it may happen. So biological plausibility, which can happen here. Or if we say a girl can produce a child, yes, a man can produce a child, we will say no, it is not. There is no biological plausibility. But now some people are doing experiment. You are using even the male can produce child. That's a different thing, because slowly that as per our knowledge, we all that also changes. So when I say biological plausibility of hypothesis means at that time whatever knowledge is there, on that basis whether that hypothesis is biological plausible or not, and that may change with passage of time. Yes, coherence of evidence. It should be coherent, and specificity of the association, like one germ, one disease, like tuberculosis bacilli will cause tuberculosis. In the same way, measles virus will cause measles. COVID virus will cause COVID, isn't it? Disease. So there is a specificity when there is very precise, very specific association. Only that tuberculosis bacilli will lead to tuberculosis. You say yes, it will cause tuberculosis, and then you say yes, it is very specific. Yes, in study design, we have directionality, which was described by Kleinbaum. Like these are cohort study or clinical trials. Another is case control. Do not concentrate on right side. Only see on left side. I will tell you what I mean to say. Cross sectional study. Okay. So they all depend on timing. We call it directionality. Like you see, that cohort and clinical study, we start from healthy people and then we see the effect, outcome. So from absence of outcome to we go outcome and we say yes, those who are smoking after 40 years, they may develop lung cancer. So it is on positive direction or on from one left to right. And see case control study when cases have already occurred. And sorry, this cohort clinical trial, there could be information bias. This type of bias or error can occur in clinical. We will discuss cohort study tomorrow in much detail. I will tell you everything. In case control study, there could be measurement error because you depend on history and that may occur. In cross-sectional study, yes, there is no direction. So if we, in different study design, if somebody asks you or some asks that, is there any directionality? You will say, yes, in cross-sectional study, there is no directionality. It does not depend on time. But cohort study and clinical trials, yes, they are prospective study. And case control study, that is retrospective study. I'm not talking of hybrid studies, which will be taken up later on, and you will know, because then we are going to make some changes, and then a new name has come, hybrid study. That is not my talk. Somebody, some other very nice person, in perhaps Dr. Indranil Shaha is going to tell you. So he's a very good teacher. So we call it bird eye view. You may have heard bird eye view. I found this also helicopter view. If you sit on helicopter, means a broad classification. So basic design, broadly we can say that basic designs are three: cohort, case control, and cross-sectional. These are three, we call it basic designs. That is very broad view. And then hybrid design, I'm not going to teach you in detail. Dr. Indranil Shaha is going to take this lecture. Nested case control and case cohort. And then incomplete design like ecologic and proportional. So this was a bird eye view, a helicopter view. Yeah. So my portion ends today here about the fundamentals of study design. I have used some terms which I will call that they are fundamentals of study design, and I will continue observational studies tomorrow. So that's all. Now I can have question, I can answer.
Thank you very much, sir, for a very interactive session, very informative session. Now I would like to.
I can switch on my, I think, camera also.
Yes, sure.
Mm.
Stop sharing the PPT and you after that share the camera.
So I should stop
Yes,
PPT.
yes. Stop the sharing, sir, first, and close the PPT. Now, I would like to request all participants, if there is any query regarding today's session, then please raise your hand or write your query in the chat box so I can send you the unmute request.
Now students can see me.
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dr. Anju K. Bharadwaj, I sent you the unmute request. Please unmute yourself and then ask your query.
Good evening, sir.
Ji.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a informative lecture. Sir, I have a very simple, basic question, sir. What is the meaning of empirical, sir? Empirical investigation, empirical
Yes, yes.
tested.
Yeah. Empirical means scientifically which you can perform. We call it empirical. But otherwise, there may be hypothetical thing which you cannot do. If you can do some experiment, if you can perform some activity, so we convert the conceptual hypothesis into empirical, which you can perform. The conceptual, you may not be able to do it. So if you have some concept, then you translate and you make a study design just to perform scientifically. Am I clear?
Okay, sir.
Anything you can do empirical.
Right, sir. Sir, then what will be empirical investigation? Means all kind of
We-
investigation?
Yeah, all kind. Because like
All
cohort study, you can do it. That is why they have designed in such a way, so it becomes empirically possible or empirical design.
Okay, sir. Sir,
Correct?
is
Ji.
empirical and evidence-based, they are having any relationship, or these two are quite different terms?
There have been these two different terms. Evidence based means by conducting empirical experiment, you generate evidence.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay, sir. By conducting empirical, studies, we generate evidence, then it becomes
Evidence.
evidence-based.
Yeah.
And empirical is, मतलब simply अगर हम कहें तो empirical is scientific.
जो आप कर सकते हैं
कर
साइंटिफिकली,
सकते हैं. Doable है जो.
अगर
Okay.
नहीं कर सकते, डुएबल नहीं है, तो आप कहेंगे दिस इज नॉट एम्पेरिकल, वी कैन नॉट डू इट.
Okay.
तो स्टडी डिजाइन में हम लोग उसको इसलिए कन्वर्ट करते हैं. यस.
ठीक
आप
है.
कहाँ से बोल रही हैं अंजू?
सर मैं एम्स जोधपुर से.
ओके. डॉक्टर पंकज
जी.
भारद्वाज है मेरा स्टूडेंट, उनसे आप फर्दर डिस्कस कर लीजिएगा कम्युनिटी मेडिसिन
हाँ
में.
जी सर. सर है कम्युनिटी मेडिसिन.
हाँ.
डेफिनेटली सर. डेफिनेटली.
वो अच्छा लड़का है, बहुत अच्छा है, ब्राइट है. ही विल बी एबल टू
श्योर.
एक्सप्लेन इट. हाँ.
श्योर सर. थैंक यू सो मच सर.
या.
थैंक यू.
Now I'm waiting for more query. Please raise your hand or write your query in the chat box. If there is any query regarding today's session, then please write your query.
अमित, एक मेरी क्वेरी है.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, sir.
मतलब क्वेरी टाइम के लिए, एक्चुअली यू हैव फिक्स्ड माय टाइम एट 6 PM, है ना?
Yes,
और
sir. Yes.
मेरी वाइफ कुछ ऐसा कुछ एक डेथ वेथ हो गई थी, वहां इंदौर गई हुई है, मैं नहीं जा पाया आज लेक्चर के लिए. तो टुमारो मैं उससे बोलूंगा कि डोंट एक्सपेक्ट मी टू रिसीव यू. आई विल फिक्स प्रोग्राम. कैन आई मेक चेंजेस लाइक 7 to 8 कर सकता हूं अगर, और नहीं
हाँ,
पॉसिबल है तो आई विल स्टिक टू 6 to. लेकिन मैं पहले ही इन्फॉर्म कर दूंगा. हमारे दूसरे जो
Definitely, sir. Definitely. Inform me till 12 in the afternoon.
Okay.
So I can send a message to all participants. They will join at 7 PM, sir.
इट इज जस्ट फॉर टुमारो, क्योंकि ऐसा हो गया
हाँ,
है
sir.
तो मैं थोड़ा सा असमंजस में
Please,
था
sir. Please, sir.
कि मैं
Please,
आपसे
sir.
बोलूं नहीं बोलूं. हाँ.
जी सर. प्लीज आप मुझे बता दीजिएगा, मैं उस हिसाब से मैनेज कर दूंगा. प्लीज
हाँ.
सर.
ओके.
नाउ डॉक्टर धर्मेंद्र कुमार पांडे, आई सेंड यू द अनम्यूट रिक्वेस्ट. प्लीज.
जी नमस्कार सर.
जी.
ये सर जो मेरा प्रश्न है, हम लोग कई दिनों से ये जो कोर्स चल रहा है उसमें लगे हुए हैं. तो
जी।
शायद आज के लेक्चर से ना हो, पिछले लेक्चर से ये क्वेश्चन मुझे परेशान कर रहा है।
हाँ हाँ।
मैं आपसे अभी पूछना चाह रहा हूँ सर। सर ये
हम्म।
क्वालिटेटिव और क्वांटिटेटिव जो डेटा आ रहे हैं या जो स्टडी है, सर इसका थोड़ा फर्क हमको अच्छे से
मैं
बता
बताता
जी
हूँ,
सर।
हाँ, इसको ध्यान दीजिए, ध्यान से सुनिए। आई थिंक बहुत अच्छा क्वेश्चन पूछा और ये मेरे दिल के बहुत करीब है, क्योंकि कई बार मैं लेक्चर में इसको बहुत समझाने की कोशिश करता हूँ। देखिए, दो चीजें हैं अलग अलग। देयर आर टू सिचुएशंस, वन इज क्वालिटेटिव रिसर्च एंड क्वांटिटेटिव रिसर्च। एक तो ये दो टर्म हो गए।
जी
दूसरा टर्म है क्वालिटेटिव डेटा एंड क्वांटिटेटिव डेटा। ठीक है,
जी
ये दोनों बिल्कुल अलग अलग चीजें हैं। एम आई
जी
राइट? ये आपको क्लियर हो गया? अब व्हाट इज क्वालिटेटिव डेटा एंड व्हाट इज क्वांटिटेटिव डेटा, ये मैं थोड़ा सा बताने की कोशिश करूंगा आपको। सो
जी सर।
आप लोग, क्योंकि इसके बारे में मैंने बहुत कंफ्यूजन देखा है, हमारे कई बार स्टैटिशियन भी ऐसा बोल दिया वर्ड, तो मैं थोड़ा सोचने लगा, तो मैंने कई बुक्स पढ़ी, तो मुझे जो फाइनली मैंने कंक्लूड किया है वो मैं आपको यहाँ पे बताना जा रहा हूँ कि
जी सर।
क्वांटिटेटिव डेटा आर मेजर्ड फैक्ट्स। आप चाहे तो लिख लें, मेजर्ड।
जी सर।
Whenever you measure, you get quantitative data. आप क्या मेजर करते हैं? You measure height,
जी
you
सर।
measure how much liter water or liquid is there, you
जी सर।
measure weight, you measure hemoglobin. Am I right?
जी
When
सर।
you measure, you get blood pressure, you measure, you get quantitative data. So
जी सर।
measured facts, quantitative data, I'm talking of data, not research.
जी
Quantitative data are measured facts,
जी
and
सर।
qualitative data are counted facts. Qualitative data you are going to count. जैसे अब एग्जांपल मैं लेता हूँ, बॉयज एंड गर्ल्स। आई थिंक बॉयज यू विल नेवर मेजर कि 3 लीटर बॉय या
यस सर।
1.2 किलोग्राम बॉय, you will never say, you will never use these terms. You will say 1 boy or 2 boy and 3 girls. You will never say 2.2 girls या 3.57 boys, है ना? You will never say, because you are going to count. So
जी सर।
qualitative data are counted facts and quantitative data are measured facts. That is one difference.
जी
Second
सर।
is quantitative data are continuous in characteristics and qualitative data are discrete. अब मैं फिर से एक एग्जांपल से समझाता हूँ. What do we mean by quantitative? Continuous.
जी
Like
सर।
if you write on a graph, if you make a graph, line graph, so from
जी
left to right, your height will increase like 110 centimeter, 111 centimeter, 112, like you put many dots. So it is continuous and there is connectivity.
जी
But
सर।
in qualitative, when you say boys and girls, आप दो बार डायग्राम बना दो,
जी सर।
you will never say कि जैसे बॉयज का ग्राफ, मैं कभी कभी क्लास में हंसी मजाक में बच्चों को, बॉयज को एक साइड में बैठा देता हूँ और गर्ल्स को एक साइड में बैठा देता हूँ, और तो मैं जो जो गर्ल बॉयज के पास बैठी हुई है, आई नेवर से दैट दिस गर्ल हैज स्टार्टेड कन्वर्टिंग इनटू बॉय. वी कांट से इट.
जी सर।
गर्ल इज आइदर गर्ल, वी कांट से कि अब धीरे धीरे गर्ल जो है बॉय में कन्वर्ट हो रही है, बिकॉज इट इज ए क्वालिटेटिव इंफॉर्मेशन एंड दैट इज ऑलवेज वन, isn't it? So
जी
अब
सर।
मैं कई बार पूछता हूँ क्वेश्चन, लाइक इन हॉस्पिटल वी हैव 15 केसेस ऑफ टाइफॉइड. अब
जी सर।
धर्मेंद्र आप बताइए, इट इज ए क्वांटिटेटिव डेटा और क्वालिटेटिव डेटा?
सर ये क्वांटिटेटिव है।
क्यों क्वांटिटेटिव है बताइए? हैव यू मेजर्ड और काउंटेड?
सर हम लोगों ने काउंट किया है इसको। नहीं
हाँ,
सर, फिर ये क्वालिटेटिव डेटा होगा सर, ये इसको
यस
तो हम
यस,
काउंट
इसमें
कर।
कई बार लोग कंफ्यूज होते हैं, इसलिए मैंने एग्जांपल लिया कि आप जो है जब आप काउंट कर रहे हैं तो मैंने फिर से मैं रिपीट करता हूँ, और आप देखिएगा 6 महीने बाद आप फिर भूल जाएंगे इसको, तो इसको कहीं
सर एक
नोट कर
प्रश्न
लीजिए.
और एक प्रश्न और पूछिए सर, ताकि मैं और
हाँ,
क्लियर हो।
मैं पूछ रहा हूँ अभी कि आपने ये बताया, अब जैसे आप बताइए हीमोग्लोबिन लेवल. आप मेडिकल पर्सन है ना?
जी सर।
हाँ, तो यू कैन टेल मी दैट हीमोग्लोबिन लेवल 9.4, इसको क्या बोलेंगे आप?
सर ये क्वांटिटेटिव है।
बिल्कुल ठीक है. अब देखिए, अब मैं थोड़ा इसको आपको घुमा रहा हूँ.
जी सर।
बिलो 10 hemoglobin level एंड अबव 10, 10.1 एंड अबव, ठीक है, उनको हमने बोल दिया हेल्दी, एंड 10 के नीचे बोल दिया एनीमिक।
जी सर।
नाउ डिफरेंट लेवल के हीमोग्लोबिन के, कुछ को 9 था, कुछ को 8 था, आपने टोटल काउंट करके बता दिया 12 पीपल वर एनीमिक
जी
एंड
सर।
45 वेयर हेल्दी। तो ये
जी सर।
इंफॉर्मेशन क्वांटिटेटिव है कि क्वालिटेटिव?
सर ये तो क्वालिटेटिव की तरफ आ जाएगा।
हाँ, तो अब देखिए आपने क्या करा, एक्चुअली हीमोग्लोबिन लेवल इज ए क्वांटिटेटिव डेटा,
जी सर।
बट यू हैव मेड ग्रुप।
जी सर।
नाउ ग्रुप विल बिहेव एज ए क्वालिटेटिव इंफॉर्मेशन, क्वालिटेटिव डेटा, क्योंकि वो काउंटेड फैक्ट्स हो गया। तो जब भी हम कैटेगराइज बनाते हैं, जैसे ब्लड प्रेशर है, वो हाइपरटेंशन, सीवियर हाइपरटेंशन, माइल्ड हाइपरटेंशन एंड हेल्दी, तो ये हमने 4 कैटेगरी बना दिया। नाउ यू विल
जी
काउंट हाउ मेनी पीपल बिलोंग्स टू दैट। सो अब थर्ड मैं बताता हूँ आपको डिफरेंस। मैंने आपको 2 बताए। नंबर 1, काउंटेड मेजर्ड फैक्ट्स are
एंड काउंट।
quantitative data,
जी
counted
सर।
facts are qualitative data. Second,
जी सर।
quantitative data are continuous and
कंटिन्यूस।
qualitative data are discrete, बिल्कुल अलग अलग।
जी सर। जी
cases
सर।
of typhoid, cases of malaria, number of deaths, है ना, ये बिल्कुल अलग अलग इवेंट है हमारी।
जी सर।
कंफ्यूजन तब होता है when we are not sure of diagnosis, suspected case of malaria। तो अभी हम इसको कॉम्प्लिकेटेड नहीं बनाएंगे, अभी हम सिंपल क्लियर कट, यू हैव केस डेफिनेशन एंड यू कुड डायग्नोज, सो देयर इज ए क्लियर कट केस ऑफ पायरेक्सिया ऑफ अननोन ओरिजिन कर दो या मलेरिया कर दो।
जी सर।
पायरेक्सिया ऑफ अननोन ओरिजिन, देयर मे बी फ्यू केसेस ऑफ मलेरिया व्हिच यू कुड नॉट डायग्नोज। इज दैट क्लियर?
जी
नाउ
सर।
लेट अस सी द टाइप ऑफ statistical test which will be applied. In quantitative data you apply t test, अगर आपको डिफरेंस देखना है ना, or
जी
in
सर।
qualitative data, in qualitative data you will apply chi-square test. So
जी
please
सर।
remember, if you have quantitative data, never think of chi-square test. तो आपका देखिए सारी स्टैटिस्टिक्स 2 ग्रुप में डिवाइड हो जाएगी, इफ यू आर क्लियर इन योर माइंड।
जी सर।
फोर्थ, अबाउट डायग्राम्स, चार्ट, जैसे इफ यू हैव क्वांटिटेटिव डेटा then you will prepare histogram. You cannot prepare bar diagram because there will be continuity.
जी सर।
If you have qualitative data, then you will prepare simple bar diagrams. अलग अलग होगा, मेल फीमेल, एनीमिक, नॉन एनीमिक, हेल्दी, मींस इन दिस वे। तो अब मैं ज्यादा नहीं बोलता हूँ, वरना फिर इस पे एक लेक्चर हो जाएगा 1 घंटे का। मैंने
नहीं
थोड़ा
सर, ये
आइडिया दिया है, आप लोग पढ़िए। आई होप। मैं एक कॉल आ रही है मेरी वाइफ की इंदौर से, मैं शॉर्ट में अटेंड करके उसको बोलता हूँ कि बाद में बात
जी
करूँ।
सर।
जस्ट गिव मी 1 ब्रेक।
यस सर, प्लीज सर, प्लीज सर।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी, आई एम बैक टू।
डॉक्टर हरि कृष्णन।
पार्डन। आई होप धर्मेंद्र को कुछ कुछ क्लियर हो पाया होगा। अच्छा, मैंने उनको अभी एक जवाब नहीं दिया है, तो रिसर्च, क्वालिटेटिव रिसर्च एंड क्वांटिटेटिव, उसको छोड़ देते हैं, बाद में बात करेंगे।
कल मिलेंगे सर, कल फिर वो आएंगे।
हाँ हाँ, पूछ लेना धर्मेंद्र।
There is last query from Dr. Hari Krishnan.
Sir, namaste, sir. Sir, it is a common question actually.
Please, please.
I'm not attached to any institution or any hospital or research institution, but I
But
want
you
to
are
know whether
welcome.
such studies can be done at the private practice level prospectively for documentation purpose. Is it possible to implement these?
Yes. So I think tomorrow I am going to touch those activities and you will have more clear concept. Is that answer okay? Because
Okay,
tomorrow
sir.
you will get answer, better answer, if you join.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you.
And if there is any confusion, you can ask me. I can sit late also, no problem. क्योंकि मेरे 2 लेक्चर हैं, दोनों में हमें जितना हो पाएगा, I will try to answer your queries.
Okay, sir.
Automatically you may get some answer, because we are going to discuss various study designs, and few study design will fit in your situation.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Shruti.
जी सर, नमस्ते सर।
हाँ, श्रुति
हाँ,
कहाँ से
सर।
बोल रही हैं?
सर मैं वडोदरा से।
ओके, वडोदरा। केम छो?
मजामा सर।
हाँ, मैं गुजरात रहा हूँ 24 इयर्स, तो बड़ा अच्छा लगता है कि फ्रॉम 83 टू 2007 जामनगर रहा 9 साल, करमसद रहा 3 ईयर, सूरत रहा करीब 13 इयर्स।
हाँ,
देन आई
बहुत
केम
अच्छा।
टू बीएचयू। जी हाँ, बताइए श्रुति।
सर मुझे एक क्वेरी थी
जी।
कि जब हम रैंडमाइजेशन की बात करते हैं और हम कंसीडर करते हैं इंक्लूसिव और एक्सक्लूसिव क्राइटेरिया, और उस हिसाब से हम जब सैंपल सिलेक्ट करते हैं, तो हम ऐसा कह सकते हैं कि सैंपल्स आर रैंडमली सिलेक्टेड, ऐसे लिखते हैं जनरली, तो
नहीं नहीं, हाँ, कह सकते हैं। मेरा जो सेंटेंस था वो उसकी आत्मा तक चला गया था, आत्मा तक। आप समझ रहे हैं, मतलब बहुत माइन्यूट हम डिटेल में हमने आपको बोल दिया। वी ट्राई टू इंश्योर बट इट डज नॉट गारंटी। ये वर्ड थोड़ा आपको धीरे धीरे समझ में आएगा। एंड डॉक्टर आर.एन. मिश्रा इज गोइंग टू डिस्कस इन डिटेल इन 2 सेपरेट लेक्चर्स अबाउट सैम्पलिंग मेथड्स। आई थिंक ही कैन गिव यू सम बेटर आंसर। नहीं होगा तो मुझे बाद में अमित बुला लेगा एंड आई विल सिट हियर, आई विल आंसर। हाँ,
जी
On
सर, जी।
16th, 17th, Dr. Anand Mr. sir will be there.
ओके, थैंक यू सो मच
हाँ
सर।
हाँ, अब यू विल गेट आंसर। अभी लोग आएंगे आपके सामने बोलेंगे, बिकॉज इट हैज नॉट बीन कवर्ड, सो यू आर फेसिंग प्रॉब्लम।
ओके ओके, एक्चुअली सर रैंडमाइजेशन का पहले कंसेप्ट ठीक था, लेकिन बाद में इतने लेक्चर्स हुए, फिर ये
No, no.
इंक्लूसिव एंड एक्सक्लूसिव क्राइटेरिया के बाद में
श्रुति,
थोड़ा फिर कंफ्यूजन।
श्रुति, हम जब पढ़ते थे मेडिकल कॉलेज में तो हम एक डायलॉग बोलते थे अपने फ्रेंड से, लेस स्टडी लेस कंफ्यूजन, नो स्टडी नो कंफ्यूजन, मोर स्टडी मोर कंफ्यूजन। तो अभी तुम उस तरफ चल रही है, सो नो प्रॉब्लम, इट इज वेरी नेचुरल फिनोमेना।
ओके, थैंक यू सो मच सर।
हाँ, ओके ओके।
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for making session very interactive. I hope that our participants get benefited from today's session. And now, without taking too much time, I would like to introduce today's chairperson of the session, Dr. Srikant Babu, sir. Sir is a former principal of Dr. B.R.K.R. Government Ayurvedic College, Hyderabad, Telangana, and former chairperson of PGBOS, KNRUHS, former ex officio medical superintendent. Sir is a life member of Vishwa Ayurved Parishad, New Delhi. Sir is a Senate member in KNRUHS, member of PG BOS, KNRUHS, member of IEC State Ayush, member IC DRBR KRGAC, and former member secretary of pre-PhD committee member RGUHS. Sir is serving as a PG examiner paper setter to more than 8 health universities. Sir has guided many PG dissertations. Sir has visited and delivered talks at British Parliament and European Parliament, and is same year to mark Ayurveda Day celebrations as a special invitee. Sir has visited more than 8-10 countries like USA, UK, Europe, Australia, Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia, Nepal, etc. to spread the concepts of Ayurveda all over the world. Sir has contributed for editing works of Charak News Edition project and is now available online, Charak Samhita online. Sir is a member in Romania Scientific Council, Bucharest, Romania, and many international accreditations are accorded. Most cherished and opted resource person from India and in world. Sir is recipient of Dhanvantari Award in 2022, also previously 2 times awarded as Dhanvantari Award. Sir has been awarded as a Best Teacher Award, Best Physician Award, etc. from reputed organizations. Sir honored with Lifetime Achievement Award from Arakasen, accorded in Thailand. Sir has been published many research articles in reputed international and national journals. Besides that, Sir is an author of more than 4 books. And now I would like to invite Sir to please kindly share her experience and views on today's session and kindly sum up the session. Please, Sir, welcome, Sir.
Namaste. Thank you, Dr. Amit, for soft words. And Joint State Training Center of Institute of Sciences and National Institute of Ayurveda. Both together, you are doing a splendid job, actually. I was not knowing until I was invited to this session. I was going through these topics and other things. You are doing a wonderful area. I was a former teacher of research methodology in Ayurvedic colleges, both in Vijayawada and Hyderabad. And after hearing to the renowned academician, Dean Academics, Dr. Professor Ratan Kumar Srivastava, sir. Sir, pranams. It's an honor to hear you, sir. the study design and its importance, we used to emphasize in classrooms, but not this effectively. I need to agree. The way you have put forth the topics into simple points and the time limits you have used are really, really impressive. And the way you have brought the conceptual hypothesis through operational process to an empirical hypothesis looks very simple, but very, very palatable in understanding these areas. This shows your expertise in training the people, sir. What I notice. Then the simple classifications for empirical and observational studies about talking about a randomization as a point. This is also a new tool where all the statisticians will be benefited, what I believe. And the important examples, because statistics, research methodology and statistics, unless you give examples,
Yeah.
n number of examples, you cannot communicate anything to the student or to the listener.
Yes.
Because once they go out of the class, their mind will be afresh. So they require lots of examples, like the randomization and experimental designs. You have quoted mosquito net as an example for malaria,
Mhm.
where it should have, you have swiftly moved on that particular point. But as an expert, we know how important that example is to carry out the importance of the study design to the listener.
Yeah.
Likewise, risk ratio and risk difference. This is also perhaps you may be throwing more focus in your future
Yeah.
lectures.
Yeah.
These are the important terminologies one has to learn by day-to-day areas, and to apply in day-to-day researches and developing conceptual designs and other things. So the other areas related to cancers, you have very significantly put, like cigarette smoking and lung cancer, into simple 6-point formula, like dose response effect, lack of temporal ambiguity, consistency, biological plausibility, and coherence and specification of association. These heads are very, very common when anybody is doing any work on researchers, rather to say. The simple and excellent talk you have delivered on research design, sir. And the interaction is also, I should appreciate the audience, the scholars who are appearing for this session since long days, 1.5 months, 1 week, 5 weeks, it seems. So their interaction is also very, very informative, because they could able to bring out 3 important points to differentiate qualitative and quantitative studies, like countable and measurable, continuous and discrete, like histogram and bar diagram. They are very simple, but they made, you have made these points very, very palatable, sir. At the end, I would like to quote one simple example, what we commonly use in teaching statistics. Like the researchers are like this thing. I draw your attention because I'm not having a slide or something here. I did not prepare like that. So there is a small design design error. I don't talk about design, because design norms are being well narrated by Srivastava sir. One error which can understand us in a better way. Say there is a research they want to do on cockroach, and once you cut the legs of cockroach, how it traveled from this end to this end, and what was the time taken. This was the conception of idea, empirical idea, conceptual idea. And they took a board where it cannot go into other dimensions. It was well grooved and well measured, and there was a stopwatch to measure the time. So the cockroach was here. They have, normally it has 6 legs, they have asked it to move, so it reached here in X time. And they have cut the 1 leg, second cell. They have asked the cockroach to move to reach the destination. Like that, 3 legs were cut, 5 legs were cut, and lastly, all legs were cut. Then the research conclusion was, after cutting all 6 legs, cockroach, when I commanded cockroach to reach other side, it could not able to reach. It could not able to hear, my command. So this is a common, better example what we quote for a design error, because all the research is in measuring areas and the conclusion is opposite end. So a research design can make disastrous uh, uh, the research disastrous. So
Yeah.
one should learn, one should acquire the expertise in designing and executing the research design. With this small words, and I thank Dr. Surendra Chaudhary sir to be a part of this wonderful evening and wonderful program. Hope all the audience and organizers both are, this is a good blend rather to say, the experts on other side, then recipients are also very receptive on other side. That's the reason I call it as a good blend. And thank you, Amit, for providing me an opportunity. It's an honor to listen to your lecture, sir. I offer my pranams, Srivastava, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I do visit sometimes the Hyderabad. My one daughter is there. Hyderabad. Achha. Perhaps there is some
Yeah.
internet problem. Okay.
I think there is some network issue. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence. It's an honor for us to be here, two great personalities together, Dr. Ratan Kumar sir and Dr. Srikant Babu sir. And it's a great moment. Now, tomorrow we have another session presented by Dr. Sir on observational study design and its measure. This is the end of today's session, and now from the Joint State Training Center of Rajasthan, we convey our sincere thanks to all the participants for their active participation and commitment for today's session. We heartily thanks the guest speaker of today's session, Dr. Ratan Kumar Srivastava sir, who kept participants engaged by the way of very informative and knowledgeable lecture. We also thanks Dr. Srikant Babu sir for chairing today's session and sharing his experience and view about the session with the participants. Now this is the end of today's session. We again thanks all of you. Thank you again. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Srikant sir. Thank you very much for coming today, chairing the session.
Okay, Dr. Srikant.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Sir.
Okay. It was
Sir,
nice.
namaste.
Really,
Namaste,
बहुत अच्छा लगा आपको सुन करके, बहुत अच्छा लगा. Yes, a very good
sir,
example.
thank you, sir.
Approach.
Thank you.
Very interesting example.
Sir.
Okay, bye.
Amit ji, please pass the number of Ratan sir. I would like to communicate with him, either mail ID or the mobile. Amit ji, I request you.
Ji sir.
Okay, yes. We will.
Sir, not audible, sir. Please repeat, sir. I didn't get.
Okay, I think myself and Dr. Srikant, we want to communicate with each other. So
Okay,
please share mobile number or email of both of us.
Yes, sir, definitely. I will share. We are here from to connect the all Ayurveda and Allopathy together. This is our work, sir. I will provide, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir, for coming, and thank you for your presence, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. This is the end of today's session. Thank you again very much to all the participants and all dignitaries here. Thank you very much.